So what are those top 4 triggers? So the first trigger is a biological trigger. What is a biological trigger? This can include underlying infections. So maybe you have, like Tabitha said, an underlying infection like EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, or a herpes virus or Lyme's disease. Maybe you have some kind of underlying infection. I see a lot of kids who have um, pathogens, protozoas, things like that. So maybe there's this biological trigger. You have this underlying infection. Something else that we can look at is leaky gut. And you guys have heard me talk about leaky gut. It's this intestinal permeability where we have the tight gap junctions in our gut are no longer tight. They've really become inflamed, and we are able to let all sorts of undigested food particles, bacteria, viruses, whatever, into our bloodstream. So we have this kind of intestinal permeability, this leaky gut, and also a nutritional deficiency. Nutritional deficiency is a big one for me, especially as a doctor of holistic nutrition, because we are always like, oh, my kid needs their multivitamin and they've got to get that RDA. Did you know that RDA, recommended dietary allowance, is really designed to keep your kid from getting scurvy or rickets? It is not meant to give them optimal health. And if your kid has all of these other underlying stressors, these other things that are going on in their body, they need more nutrients. So just giving them a multivitamin, probably not doing you any good, especially if you have a lot of inflammation, because they're probably not absorbing it. So, number one is biological triggers. This can include underlying infections, leaky gut, nutritional deficiency. Number two is environmental triggers. So, what is an environmental trigger? This can include things like food sensitivity. So, we're eating food all day long, every day. And when we're eating these foods, we may be eating some foods that maybe our body doesn't love. Maybe they're causing some inflammation in the system. So we have to look at food sensitivities as well. And this food sensitivities is a delayed reaction. So we are looking at, one second. When we're looking at food sensitivities, we're looking at delayed reaction. So an allergy is immediate. Your throat closes up, your lips swell. This is an immediate reaction, but food sensitivities are delayed. It may take 2 or 3 days to turn on your immune system when you're eating something that you shouldn't be eating. And so when we start to track food, we think, well, it doesn't have a big impact. Like they may have really big increase in symptoms on Wednesday, and we're not associating it with what they ate on Monday. So food sensitivities can be an environmental trigger. Vaccines, and of course vaccines are a really hot topic, and what I will tell parents is I really want you to do your due diligence. You want to look at both sides, good versus bad, like what is it and what's the best for your family. They can be a triggering event, especially if you have a lot of other stuff going on, like infections, inflammation, food sensitivities, all of these things. Herbicides and pesticides. Think about the herbicides that are sprayed on your foods, the pesticides that are sprayed in and around your home and your schools. Thinking about things like toxins or strong scents. So many people, they love these Glade plugins. And I'm like, they are toxic AF, people. They are not good for you. If you have Glade plugins, walk around your house right now, pick them up and throw them away. Take them out to the dumpster. They are toxic. They are full of phthalates. They are super toxic. You got to think about your cleaning products. Are you cleaning with bleach? Not a good cleaning product. It's really neurotoxic. It's not good for the brain. Plastics, drinking, eating, storing our food in plastics. This can be an environmental trigger. And even things like the nonstick cookware, we think, I'm going to cook this egg, I'm going to fry this egg, and it's not going to stick. That nonstick cookware, those chemicals leach into your food. So you have to consider environmental triggers as well. Then we want to look at physiological triggers. So number one was biological, number two, environmental, number three is physiological. What's a physiological trigger? So this is kind of where so many people, we start to talk about chiropractic care. You've heard me talk about chiropractic care. We did a live about chiropractic care. Yes, it can be a very good complementary piece. So maybe there is poor alignment, but we also have to look at things like maybe lack of exercise. Exercise is so important for helping us to create neurotransmitters. It's so important for our bone health. So many parents, calcium, calcium, calcium. No, it's not calcium. One of the most important things you can do for bone health is exercise. So are your kids sitting in their desk all day at school, coming home and sitting in front of the TV Xbox, 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 like playing their video games. So are there these physiological stressors? Or, maybe they are going out, they're older, they have a job, and maybe they're doing some hard labor and they're really stressing out their body, causing a lot of inflammation. Or maybe they love to weight lift, like my kid does, and you get a lot of inflammation. So we have to consider, that balance of those physiological triggers as well. Is there a lack of exercise? Is there poor alignment? Are they sitting on their butts all day long? We live in a society of butt sitters. Everyone's on their butt all day long. And finally, number 4 is emotional triggers. What are emotional triggers? These can include stress from work, school, abuse, grief, maybe an accident like a car crash. These can be really big emotional triggers. When we think about stress, so this is a big one for me. When we think about stress, we don't think of anything besides, when it comes to stress, besides this emotional piece. We think, my boss is a jerk, my kid's getting bullied at school, I'm fighting with my husband. We think about emotional triggers. We don't think about all of these other things that are going on. We think about that emotional stress, but stress is not just emotional. Stress is all of these other factors. Underlying infections are stressful. The stuff you're cleaning your home with is stressful. The foods you're eating can be stressful. So we have to think about stress above and beyond just things like my boss is a jerk. So again, let's kind of recap what those 4 triggers are. So biological triggers, number 1, environmental triggers, physiological triggers, and emotional triggers. Here's what I want you to know. Triggers are not limited to those that I just listed above, but these are some of the most common triggers for kids with tic disorders. I want you to know that tics are multi-layered. There is not one root cause. I will tell you over and over from all of the clients around the world that I have worked with, there is not one root cause. There are multiple causes that make this perfect storm, and then we have this boil over. So we have to consider above and beyond one root cause. It is not just food. So many people, we're following diet, we're doing this. It is not just food. It is not just food. When you have a kid who has tic disorders, their immune system is in this hypersensitive state. So everything is going to cause this triggering event for them. Like I tell parents when we're first starting out that, your kid's immune system is so hypersensitive that somebody farts in the wrong direction and it can be a triggering event. So we have to know that there are so many factors when it comes to your child's tic disorders. They are multi-layered. So it is really, really essential that we get clear on the many different areas that are impacting their health. So this is why we use my proprietary process, the comprehensive neuroimmune analysis. This is why we have to look at what's going on under the hood. We have to figure out what are all of these triggers for the body. This is why we're looking at 935 different biomarkers with each and every client. Everybody is unique. And so when somebody says on here like, oh, what are you doing for your child? I say, everybody's unique. We're doing something different for every single person. We're going to connect the dots between your comprehensive neuroimmune analysis, and we are going to look at your symptoms. We are going to look at your health history. We are not just looking at paper. We are looking at this humongous connection. And then we create this roadmap to recovery. So we're starting with step 1. We're looking at this comprehensive neuroimmune analysis. We're looking at all of these markers. Then we're going to compare and contrast it with everything else that's going on in your lifestyle, your health history, your symptoms. We are going to connect those dots. This is that foundational connection method. This is where we are looking at it and analyzing that data and putting it together so that we can create that roadmap to recovery. You don't just get in the car and go on a road trip. Like you're going to look at Google Maps and say, okay, this is where we're going. This is what we do. We are going to create this roadmap to recovery so that we can then have this restorative rescue strategy. This is where we are going to help you, mom, dad, and your family. We're not just looking at your child. We're looking at your whole family. What kind of changes can we make for your entire family to make everybody happy, healthier, stronger, symptom-free, living this fabulous life? So we're going to use this restorative rescue strategy to come up with short-term and long-term goals for you. So when we're talking about this approach, it is an individualized, natural, holistic approach. And we are looking at all of these triggers, but we're also looking at how we put it all together. So this is where we use that proprietary approach. We're going to kick the tics, comprehensive neuroimmune analysis. Then we're going to use the foundational connection method, and then we're going to have a restorative rescue strategy. It is 3 steps. We're using a 3-step process.